Tim Briggs here, and I am at Bailey Road Park practicing for a tournament. And have to say, I really enjoyed this park. This is like if Bradford had a baby with Eager Beaver. This is what this course would be. Whatever level of disc golfer you are, I think you would really enjoy it. I was lucky to get a birdie there on hole 1, hole 2, throwing this flex line. I needed to push it just a little bit farther. Gave me a lengthy putt, and doink. That was a good putt. Second one was better. That's how disc golf goes. Hole 3, forehand, because that's what I do, and threw that pretty good. Got a bad roll. I didn't put it out left far enough. Left me a long putt. And air ball. That was just bad. Even player B, not very good. Hole 4, another forehand. I wanted to throw a little flex shot. Didn't push it far enough. Got a lot of skip on it, unfortunately. Too far away. Farther away than I wanted it to be, but thankfully both player A and B sunk that, which took me to 2 under. On to the next hole here. Another forehand flex. Didn't quite push it far enough, but gave myself here a good look and was able to just sneak that in to get to 3 under. Just barely. It was tough, but it was good. On to the next hole. Another forehand. Wanted to throw this one a bit more left. Or no. This one hit the tree. That's what happened. And it gave me a lengthier putt than I wanted. Which obviously I didn't make. And then I gave myself a tricky comebacker, but thankfully was able to connect on that. So on to hole number 7. Have to throw a backhand. There's water on this hole. The hole goes sharp and to the left. There's just no reasonable way to throw a forehand, because if there was, I would throw one. I threw a great backhand and then just a bad putt. Wasn't terrible, but there you have it. On to hole 8. There is a right gap or a left gap. Thankfully, that left gap is perfect for a forehand. And there's just one little tree up there I've got to miss, and I missed it. And, this one probably hit really close to the base of the basket. Skip past it up the hill. Very makeable putt, which I make to take me to 4 under. On to the next hole. This is one I could throw a forehand, but it's just a backhand hole. It's a fun hole. Really downhill. I threw that line really well. Just juiced it a little bit. Lengthy putt. There's a lot of wind out there today too, and it just was not going in. Neither was player B. So on to hole 10 I go. And thankfully hole 10, guess what? I'm going to throw a forehand. This one shapes up really well for my game. Just hang it out to the left and let it come back to the right. And I do that. I juiced this one just a little bit. I don't want to throw it quite that long. Gave me a lengthier putt than I wanted downhill. And yuck. We'll just move on. Player B missed that putt as well. And it was bad. I'm not even going to show it. So on to the next hole, which again is a forehand. I decided to go standstill for this one. Throw a good line, just short. Just need to put it out there a little bit more, but gave myself a reasonable putt here. And you can see with both of these that they were high in the chains and there was some wind, but I made it. So on to hole 12. And this is a really tough hole for me too. Again, it's another backhand. It's sharpened to the left, and you don't want to be long. You don't want to be right. I was long, and that was a terrible circle 2 effort. On to hole 13. This hole is really cool. So from the pad, it looks like the basket's straight away, which it is, and it's a little bit low. But once you get down there, you see that there's actually like this giant ravine, and the basket's up, hidden behind this rock. So when I threw my shot, I was like, oh man, that's going to be really good, like parked. And it was pretty much parked, but it was stuck on the hill, which is an interesting place to be, and obviously makes for an awkward putt, but thankfully I was close enough to sink that guy and go to 6 under. And what had happened on this is my disc actually got stuck underneath a root, but I got it back. On to the next hole. This is a Mando. There's a Mando straight on here. So you can't go to the left, so you have to go right. Most sane people would throw a backhand, but I'm not sane. I'm going to throw a forehand, and actually this is a pretty good forehand. I mean, if I could do that every time, I would take it. A very reasonable circle 1 putt, which I make. Hey, I get to 7 under. I threw a forehand on a backhand hole and get a birdie. That's my kind of birdie. I just feel good about those. On to the next hole, really downhill. I'm trying to do a little flex shot. I need to put this more out to the left. That actually wasn't bad. I didn't know it hit a tree late. It should have been in circle 1, but it skipped all the way to circle 2. And I gave this one a good run, but not quite good enough. So on to the next hole, throwing this guy uphill. The basket's to the right behind that tree. It's kind of hard to see. I threw that pretty good. I believe this one's a little long. Yep, I'm putting downhill. Would rather not have that kind of putt, but I sink it 8 under. Feel pretty good about that. Moving on to the next hole. This one's a longer guy, like a 300 kind of guy. I'm just trying to throw a big hyzer out to the left and just put it out way too far to the left. It needs to be about 20 feet inside of that line. But longish putt, close. Player B sinks it here. I started playing with a guy at this point, and he said, player B is named Luigi. Mario didn't make the putt, but Luigi did. This hole is also 300. It's downhill to the right. I thought I threw a perfect drive, and I may have, but it went long. Maybe got a roll at the end and gave that one a decent look, but not good enough. This hole is super hard. I think this is hole 19. Really tight gap. Have to go left quick. That's not a good thing for a forehand player. So I threw a roller, which wasn't terrible, and then I threw this. This was terrible. That jump putt was disastrous, and then I missed the putt here, and I bogey to go back to 7 under. In my defense, I was having a good conversation with this guy about music, and I was distracted. So that's what I will blame that on. I believe this is hole 20. It requires about a 310 or so forehand. I just saw that off, and it was terrible. So it's short, and I got a lengthy circle 2, and I didn't frame up this shot very well. But spoiler alert, it goes in 8 under. I will take that on to hole 21, which is the last hole on the course. Shapes up pretty well for forehand. Threw that more inside than I wanted, but I'm just being complaining because it was a pretty good shot still, nonetheless. And I birdied to finish 9 under for the round. Again, this was a super fun course. Highly recommend it. Bailey Road Park. Go check it out. Cornelius, North Carolina.